assure the American people that nobody in the White House knew about the agency's actions before your counsel's office found out on April 22nd? And when they did find out, do you think that you should have learned about it before you learned about it from news reports, as you said last Friday?
Let me make sure that I answer a specific question. I can assure you that I certainly did not know anything about the IG report before the IG report had been leaked through the press.
That was President Obama in the Rose Garden yesterday, dodging a reporter's question on what the White House knew about the IRS targeting scandal. Now, my next guest says that the answer could be fatal for the Obama presidency. And joining me now to help explain, syndicated columnist, Fox News contributor Charles Krauthammer. Charles, why fatal?
Well, I think the IRS scandal is the one scandal that people have a visceral sense about, that it is, I mean, it is the one institution beside the military that can do you the most harm. It can wreck your life, and thus it has to be treated with utmost respect because it has to show integrity. And the fact that it could be deliberately targeting people on the right is a violation that everybody, left or right, understands is utterly inexcusable. So it's the one that has the most appeal. Now, there's no indication that the president knew about this, but if there's any indication that there were people in the White House who knew, who orchestrated, who encouraged, or whatever, then it can be a fatal problem. The same way, I'm not saying this is a Watergate, but I would point out that the second article of impeachment in Watergate was abuse of the IRS. It's the one that, I mean, the Benghazi is a complicated story. The one about AP, people are going to argue you need that for national security. But on this, there's no argument anywhere. And the White House had better be insulated. And you will note that the president asked about what did the White House know, responded only, I certainly didn't know. And he talked about the IG. And we learned today that the news about this investigation had gone last year, reached the Treasury Department in June of last year, before the election. General counsel and the deputy secretary, presidential appointees, we have no idea if it went beyond that. And we also learned that the general counsel in the White House knew about this 3 weeks ago, and we are asked to believe that he told no one.
Do you believe it?
I don't know. All I'm saying is it's a big question hanging over them. And Dan Pfeiffer, who's a communication director, was asked about this on another network, and he used a curious word. He said, we didn't know about this till 3 weeks ago, meaning when the general counsel did. Is he just using a generic we, or does he mean it wasn't only the general counsel, it was also the communications office and others? If so, why was it concealed from the American people? All I'm saying is there are questions out there, and the one issue that can fell a presidency is the corruption of the IRS coming from on high. We have no idea if it was from on high, but I'm a little skeptical of the idea that somehow a bunch of GS-11s in Cincinnati are the heart of the great left-wing conspiracy in America.
Lanny Davis suggested that if Obama's White House counsel knew for days, weeks, and didn't tell the president, the person, in this case a woman, be fired. You agree with that?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's a dereliction of duty. Look, the minute you and I heard about this scandal, we knew instantly this is really bad news. And the general counsel obviously knew that as well. Did he sit on it? Did he let anybody know? I don't know.
Is there a timetable problem when Schulman testified there's absolutely no targeting, when in fact we now know and learn today that when he said that, they knew otherwise?
Well, I mean, the testimony he gave today was completely absurd.
Miller versus Schulman, I'm saying. Schulman was the one that testified in March of 2012 that there was no targeting.
Well, that is demonstrably untrue. And I think it's demonstrable that he knew there was. So he's got to come up there and explain.
Yeah. More questions than answers. Why do you think Benghazi's not as big an issue? I have more questions on that as well.
Well, look, I mean, if you're looking at this in the scope of this, the ultimate importance for the nation, Benghazi is far more important. The first assassination of an ambassador in 3 decades. We've only had 6 in our entire history. the questions of the underlying derelictions of duty, the neglect of the warnings, the lack of security, and what happened during the attack, the abandonment of Americans in trouble, that's the most serious issue. I think the reason it doesn't have that much salience, it's a complicated issue, and the press has shown no interest in this until it's forced into it. So that's why I think just in terms of its effect, it may not be as important political effect, but in terms of the importance to the nation, it should be number one.
Don't you want to know why President Obama went to sleep and didn't ask for updates?
Those are the underlying issues that the left and the administration are explaining away as simply a turf war between state and CIA in drafting the cover story, the fable. The point is, it wasn't a turf war. It was a war over who would be accountable for the real serious underlying issue, dereliction of the duty and neglect at the best.
All right. Charles